Hey,
Here we go. Hello. It's time for standby. And speaking of standby, we might be doing some standing by. Francisco this week is coming to us from a hotel. He happens to be on the
Vegas.
road. How are you, buddy? You look like you have the Vegas hotel filter on. I know that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why it's even like this blue weird thing, but whatever. I'm trying to guess. Hit it against there. I don't have lights. So I'm trying to use the light of the big window, but you can't open the window, so this is
you gotta do what you can while you're on the road,
dude. It's funny because I packed everything that I thought I was gonna have, and then there's now I still forgot shit, and I packed clothes and all that stuff, and then the cable of my computer is gone, so now I forgot it, so now my computer is just gonna it's pretty much dead, Luckily, I brought the iPad, so at least
there you go.
It's easier to do than.
You've got all the backup ready to go, and I'm happy to see that you still take so much pride in your appearance on stage that you have the iron and the ironing board out in the backdrop.
Of course, yeah. Look at it over there.
All right, good attention to detail, buddy. How was your drive up to Vegas, man? How was your drive up to the desert?
It was good. It was hot. I mean, it was just it got to almost 116 degrees, and it was because I don't know when was the last time I drove. Mostly when I come to Vegas, I always fly. So I didn't realize even at this time I was going to be that hot, So I was actually scared.
In the desert.
I was going to get I was scared my car's going to get overheated. So I was I started driving with no air conditioner. It was the 70s, So I was fuck. So I was sweating.
Trying to save your car. Wow. Oh,
because I didn't know. I was I have no idea. And plus I'm I don't want to get stuck, in the middle of the desert, and waiting. So my thing was fuck it. I'll just. So but
you'll sweat. You'll sweat instead. I would rather sweat than have the potential of my car breaking down.
Yeah, I was having a lot of good barbecue sweats.
Interesting
the
choice.
Barbecue.
Do you find that weird for choosing what you're going to take on stage as well? Because I found that too. Whenever you arrive in Vegas, it's twice as hot as you even thought it would be. And no matter what you had, thin jackets or whatever that you're going to wear on stage, even those feel too hot. You basically.
Yeah, I have some jackets that I brought because just for stage, just so I'm not just wearing a shirt, but
right.
But I'm definitely just wearing them to do shows. After that, then I'm taking them off because, well, at least when you're inside, it's not obviously they pump the AC here in all the casinos and stuff like that. But obviously, if I go outside, then definitely not. But it's just for the shows,
Yeah,
but
last time I was there. I was there Valentine's Day last year, so it was just before the pandemic, that was right. Yes, yeah. It was Valentine's Day. We were in Vegas, and oh my god, the air conditioning inside fine, but even in February, as soon as we stepped outside, 10 minutes, and you're overheated.
Yeah,
you're just hot,
and that's even in February. Here it's now it's hot, it was middle of the hot season, so I was I like it, but it's just the whole driving stuff and all that stuff. But the driving was pretty good, and I like having the car here because I can go buy stuff, because
that's good.
I'm here for the whole week pretty much, so
so
I'm actually went to the supermarket to Trader Joe's and bought some stuff because I can cook here in my
nice.
In
that's good. Room. That's good that they gave you that. You must not be looking forward to the drive home then.
No, but I'm definitely gonna try to go at night. I'm not gonna
see. That's
Yeah, because I was at least I
keep
can
it
use
cool.
the AC on, keep it cold. Less traffic too. Even though I didn't get in traffic, but just in case. So I'm either leave the night after I do my other show or the other night. But I'm definitely gonna figure it out. But I think night for sure. I don't want to risk it again of
No, I got to. Yeah, that's always a good plan, and less traffic as well. It's always. I love traveling at night when it's cooler and the traffic's especially if you're going through the desert, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm still gonna try to like. I don't even know. Well, we'll see that because then I'm gonna be. Now I'm like, let me still not use the AC. But at that point, at least again, it's gonna be cooler anyway.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think you'll have you'll have a good road trip back, so to say, which is the perfect segue for our guest this week, who is an amazing actor, man. And we had such a fun chat with him. He's once again, we have a great guest, wasn't he? He was fantastic, wasn't he, Francisco?
Yeah, he was amazing. I mean, I was like, I only met him through obviously, movies that he's been, Road Trip. I remember him watching from that because I think that was his first movie. But he was like really cool, really down to earth, and gave us a lot of traveling tips, like a lot of good ones, like a lot of stuff that that's what he's been doing most of his life. He travels and stays on the places too, which is pretty cool.
So just to bring you guys up to date, those of you who aren't familiar with DJ QUALLS' work, you will recognize him from Road Trip, from Hustle and Flow, from many seasons of Supernatural. He's popped up in Breaking Bad. I remember seeing him in Breaking Bad. I was like, holy shit! He's popped up in all of your favorite TV shows. So you are going to recognize this guy, and you're going to get to know a lot more about him. You're going to have a great time. We've already asked him to come back as soon as when we have our new location.
Great cliffhanger to come back.
Yeah. So
we're definitely gonna have to listen to that story when in studio.
Yeah, you guys are gonna love this. So let's do it.
Bye, hello.
Here we go. DJ QUALLS, everybody.
Woo!
Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, joining Francisco and I. We've got him. He's here. It's DJ QUALLS, everybody.
Hey guys, how's it going?
How are
you? Thanks for joining us. Good. I'm still a little jet lagged. I've been back in town from Greece for 2 weeks, and this one's lingering, man.
Oh man, how far? When did you get back?
Like 2 weeks ago.
Oh wow!
And I'm still getting up I'm waking up at like 2 o'clock in the morning.
And do you feel that this is because you're having less travel practice?
It's not because I'm old. That's what it happens when you get older. It's not because of that. I don't know, man. It's like I can't snap out of it. And I tried the staying up 24 hours, that kind of thing, and resetting your clock. It just hasn't worked for me. I'm going to try melatonin next.
Yeah.
I did last time I tried the melatonin to get me back on the clock. It worked for about 5 days, and I was so excited, and I thought it was going to be a permanent fix.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you guys, but then I adjusted to it or something, and the rest of the bottle just didn't do shit.
It usually works for me. I use it mostly when I'm doing night shoots, and you have to turn back around to daytime.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's been really good for that. So I'm going to try it for this. I mean, it's 2 weeks, man. I'm exhausted, and it's 5:30.
Yeah. Wow. And then you're in Greece. What part?
So we started in Athens, and then we rented a car, and we went up to this place called Patra, and then Meteora to see these monasteries that were built on mountain peaks, and then went to Delphi, and then back to Athens. I mean, that's typically how I like to travel. We start in the city, and we rent a car and go around, and then wind up back in the city.
Oh, nice.
All right. So you like starting with the heart. Start with the city, all the busyness, and then escape.
Yeah, I mean, you sort of want. I mean, most of the things that you have to kind of see are usually in cities, right? Like, the Louvre or wherever you're going, and so you want to get that sort of out of the way. So you said that you've done it. Not let that really dominate your trip, because I think that's the biggest mistake that people sort of make when they travel, is that especially if you're going somewhere you've never been before, you have all these things that you need to see, like, and you just bunch up your day with them, so where you go blind to what you're seeing. So I to only do one thing a day.
That's good. I'm actually gonna take that advice, because I'm gonna go to Rome. Italy, with my girlfriend, like in August.
Have you been?
No, I never been. So
wonderful! You're going to love it.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm actually I'm going for a wedding. So I'm starting in Alba, like north to like Turin, like close to like 2 hours from Milan.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna stay there for a couple of days for the wedding, and that's where they do wines, the wine, all this stuff. And then I'm gonna go to Florence for like 3 days.
Yeah, perfect.
And
That's
then
perfect time for Florence.
And then Rome like 4 days, and then
perfect.
Go home. So like that's it. Because I got people going, you gotta go to Venice, and I'm like, no, same thing. I'm like, then I'm gonna just be traveling the whole time.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna enjoy anything.
Very similar trip to this in 2019, like right before the pandemic. I went, but I started in Rome, and then we went 7 hours south to a wedding, and then made our way to Naples and Capri. And,
nice.
And the thing is, Italy's not going anywhere. That's the other mistake that we make. We think that
that's true. Yeah.
That you're going somewhere one time, and so you have to see everything, so you don't really see anything. And
yes, right. That's a good point, man.
And I want to like have a day, like you said, like do one thing a day, and then also I want to like experience the city. Like have that little feeling of like, oh, this is what it feels like to live here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like not as a tourist, but I'm like, oh, okay, this is.
I mean,
plus I also don't like being a
so much. Like we tend to go to the same places over and over again, right?
Yeah.
So you get the lucky thing about entertainment is you get to know places as a local. I mean, you're probably gonna make a friend or two who's there, and so when you go back, you call them. And I find the best way to do that is like, I mean, I always do this like when I move somewhere new for a TV show, or like I was in Vancouver for like the last 3 years, and before that I was in New Orleans, and you want to go to a local bar out of the tourist area and start talking to the bartender, and you make a friend, and then you have a whole network, and then you leave people behind. You can go back to visit, and they'll come see you. And so I think it's clutch when you're traveling.
Exactly why I've said there's benefits to alcoholism all these years. It always you always end up in the most social of situations.
I'm drinking right now.
Or food. If you know people at restaurants, then when you go there, you can just go. They'll give you the friend discount.
Yeah,
food's fine, but people get looser on alcohol.
Yeah, and exactly. People are more, and you're more likely to talk to somebody.
True.
I think if you sit at a bar for 5 hours and don't leave with one friend, you're doing something wrong.
Or offensive.
I guess
extremely
offensive.
So, buddy, was there did you have any trouble, like any hassles getting back into the country or anything? Like, did you have to wait, or like what kind of?
No, it was pretty seamless, man.
Was it in Greece, like the whole thing? Is it a pandemic over there still, or stuff?
Yeah, I mean, Greece just reopened, but it's like here in LA, we're back to pretty much normal. They're not there yet, and like bars and restaurants close at 12:30. And there is a bit of, you're not really required to wear a mask, but it's sort of suggested. But you are like in the like at the Acropolis or the museum, like they enforced that obviously. Place, but nobody was really like. I was surprised when I landed. Nobody looked at my COVID test in Greece.
Oh, really? And you did the one that's 72 hours before thing?
Yeah, actually, I actually had to wind up postponing my first flight out, because the company that said it was going to be 24 hours didn't get it back to me in time. So I was supposed to fly out 7 o'clock in the morning, so I had to rebook. The cool thing about this is that there's so much rebooking now that the airlines a lot of times don't have fees. And the ticket that I booked was cheaper than the initial one that I took out.
Oh, wow.
So, and then on the other end, when you test, they just send a doctor to your hotel room. And,
really?
Yeah, and he swabs you, and then the next day you get the results. And it was like 40 euros, which is like what, 50 bucks?
Yeah,
that's not bad.
Yeah,
so you need to have a test to get into the U.S., but also to go to Greece, or just only to get to the US?
Most countries are requiring a negative test, even like whether or not you've been vaccinated. But the big difference is that the price of COVID tests have been capped in the EU. You can't pay over 50 euros for one. Here, the last minute was for $200.
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
my mom had to do that.
That's egregious.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah. It's But it was easy. And then like again, when nobody looked at my COVID test when I came back to America, I didn't even stamp my passport when I landed in Greece. A man came up to me and did this. He did this. Are you famous? I'm like, kind of. And he was like, come this way. And like, the side door. And I'm like, my passport's not stamped. Like, what happened?
Wow. Wait, but did you know this guy or
no?
No. Wow, he's just like that. Oh man.
I always feel like saying, like, dude, if I was famous, you would have known my name.
Yeah, exactly.
You wouldn't just come up going, are you a guy?
Yeah.
Hey, if I can get you faster to the airport, I won't say anything.
Dude,
yeah. Sure.
I'm telling you, that's my secret. Whenever I'm late for flights all the time. I have no problem taking off my sunglasses and walking up to somebody and be like, "Can you help me?"
Of course.
Yeah. You don't need to know my name.
Yeah. As
long as I miss this flight, because missing flights looks unstable. In 2015, I missed 16 flights. That looks
wow, that's
destination, dude.
Okay, but is that just because you just like to be like on the clock, like running, or like why?
No, the airport is always all the way over there.
It's the airport's fault. It's not your fault.
That's all the time. You know, I leave 15 minutes for the from the time of the flight to the airport. I'm surprised I don't make that flight. But also, once you miss a flight and it's in the ease with which you're rebooked, it sort of teaches you.
You mean the ease with which you're rebooked?
Yeah, but I don't know what your life is like.
Nah. If I think if me and JJ missed a flight, it's like it fucks up the whole trip. You know what I mean? Like,
you're best you come back tomorrow.
Dude, I missed so many flights to the same Comic-Con that year. I was doing something, and my mom finally calls me and she's like, "There'll be a car at your door at 4 o'clock in the morning. Get in it." And hung up on me, and I was like, "I think she means that. I have to go." But now I don't do that stuff anymore.
I was on tour with somebody who was always missing his flight a few years ago, and I had to start lying to him because he missed like 5 flights in a row.
Oh yeah,
we were doing an Australian tour. We had at least 12 more flights together, and I was like, okay, I'll start telling you when it is, and I had to give him an hour early in order for him to show up, man.
Dude, people have done that same thing, or they've booked a flight for me and then booked a backup flight.
Wow,
I don't do that anymore.
That's nice. No, I mean, wow, that's. I mean, yeah, no, I'm the opposite. I think I get there too early sometimes.
Yeah,
and then I'm going and then I'm just like waiting and trying to talk to people, not in the bar, but
I'm always in denial. I'm leaving like until about 20 minutes before I'm supposed to go somewhere. Like I hate packing so much. Like it's the thing of travel I just hate.
Packing?
Yeah,
I hate it. I hate that. And
I'm with you on that. Right.
Are you a guy that packs more than he needs or like less than he needs? I'm that guy who like packs more stuff and then I never get half of the stuff I don't use.
Yeah, but clothes are like the size of doll clothes. So like I can get 2 weeks in a bag this big. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. I always have trouble getting out the door because I'm always thinking of something else to do. And then when I get home, my suitcase can sit in my living room for a few days before it gets unpacked. It's like that's all the road stuff. And then I'll dig back into my closet for that.
Yeah, I mean, mine will sit around for weeks, but also because, I mean, when you're on the road a lot or when you're traveling a lot, as much as I like that and being out, and it's sort of when we didn't have that option during the pandemic, that's what crushed me. I'd never been in one place this long in my entire adult life. Wow. And I think that's true for a lot of people who travel for work. And since I was 21 years old, I've always been, and plus nothing shoots in Los Angeles anymore, so I'm always living somewhere where I don't live to work. Mm-hmm. So, and at first I liked it, like the first 4 months, and I think a lot of people, said that, like I was at home watching Wheel of Fortune every day and eating Cheetos, and then I noticed like 6 months later I had a big watery gut on a skinny body, a layer of watery fat. I'm like, how did that happen? Oh yeah, I've been outside in like a long time. But
it's also Cheetos.
No shit, and alcohol. But then it got depressing, and then you start longing for the road. And so during this trip, there was sort of nothing that could have happened that was inconvenient that would have marred that trip for me. Like I was so tolerant to get out of my house, and like because there's people's tempers I found are short, and maybe I don't know, maybe it's because everybody's pent up. And
I feel like it is.
Yeah, and maybe when they're spending their money to go on a vacation or travel, and when things are not exactly right, it's like I've been waiting for a year and a half for this. Yeah, you mess things up for me. But what I took from that is the only way to mess this up for myself is to let any of that have any impact on how I'm feeling. And so this has nothing to do with me. Keep your mouth shut.
That's great.
That's a great attitude.
That's fun. That's funny you mentioned that too, because sorry, JJ, I'm just gonna say like after I start traveling right now because of stand up and stuff like for the past 2 months. Yeah, I actually enjoyed it more, even though stuff that I before the pandemic I'd been like, ugh, I could go through this, but I'm going like, first of all, also because we haven't traveled for so long, but also I'm like kind of the same thing. I'm like, I'm just gonna enjoy the stuff that you take for granted sometimes, you know, that we take for granted of the traveling and all that stuff. And it's like,
and it'll probably last for 6 months, and then we'll all be ungrateful bastards again.
Yeah, of course.
But at least let's enjoy it right now while we can.
Yeah, well, for right now, let me live my fantasy, man.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I was gonna say, TJ. Have you seen all the people here in America? I imagine it's happening in the rest of the world too, but freaking out on airplanes. We've had women lashing out and punching stewardesses. We've had there was a pilot on an airplane that had to call for all the strong men on the flight to come forward so that they could pin down a guy who was.
That's hilarious. That sounds like a flight going to Tennessee. We all the strong men.
Well, all the strong men, please come to the front. We have to pin somebody down.
Well, first of all, like, what do you? At that point, what do you like? If we're in that plane, like, do we like? I mean, I'm saying, like, do I go like, hey, am I a strong? Like, do you ask her? Can I? I'm like, hey, which one am I? Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, it depends.
Exit row, I've done enough.
Imagine if you get up to the front. Did you ask for strong men? And some men just turn around and go, "Oh yeah, it's like we're all right."
Plus, also it depends on the flight. Like if you're going to like New Zealand with the national rugby team, whatever, you know, like you're not. But like if it's, I don't know, if it's like just a smaller, you know, I don't know. So it depends on the passenger's flight.
Exactly.
If you're the strong man.
But I didn't notice any of that. I didn't notice people being crazy. Luckily, like I had 4 flights, 2 there and 2 back. I didn't notice any of that. I mean, the stewardess.
Well, you're about to.
Like rough talk me though, and so like twice, I just like let it go.
Did she what? Or he what?
Rough talk me twice. Like she said 2 times. She said something like that. One time it was I asked her for a drink, and then I walked right around the corner, and she turned the corner. And she was like, "If you sit down, I don't have the seat manifesto memorized." I'm like, I was like, okay. I was like, you could have just said, "Hey, dude, here's your drink."
Yeah.
You didn't wander up the aisles for fucking 20 minutes with a rum and coke in your hand. Like, you didn't know where I was for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And then I asked if something had mayonnaise on it, and she rolled her eyes at me and gave it to me anyway. And I was like, this is where you are.
Jeez.
You are in your life path right now. I'm not going to be involved with this.
That's so fun. I mean, I remember I got one lady too when I got like bumped to like first class, but it was first class like going to Dallas, which is like just a big seat. I mean, that's not a big deal.
Right.
But I think I remember. Yeah, but I remember I asked her for like something, and like I guess she was doing stuff, and then she's like, and then she gave me like, oh, I guess it's like, oh, is that? It's like, I'm gonna get it to you, sir. I mean, I guess you're used to the machismo. I was like, what the fuck? Like she like, I don't know. I think she just basically is like, oh, you're Latino, and I'm like, I'm used to like, hey, go get me where's my fucking dinner? And I'm like, what is this? Like, I'm like, I just asked for a drink, but she gave like, it's those people that sometimes it's the same thing. I'm like, well, you're in your own. You have your own problems that I know that has nothing to do.
It's not about me. It still sucks. But you have to swallow that.
Yes.
Also, you have to understand if somebody's that volatile to like come after you about asking if mayonnaise was on something, then it could escalate so quickly.
Oh yeah.
Say anything. So just like.
Yeah. It's not. Might as well be like.
Let it go.
Nah, it's not about the man. It's fine. Just forget about the mayonnaise.
There's the ones that you can't refute at all too. I remember ordering a 3rd drink on a flight once, and the waitress, and I hadn't been drinking before the flight or anything like that, and it was late at night. I just wanted to have a few drinks before I got in so I could sleep quickly when I got to the hotel, kind of thing. And I asked for 3rd drink, and she was like, "I think you've had enough, sir." And I remember going, "No, I can handle more than 2 drinks, but." No matter how much you refute it, it just makes you look more guilty.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly what an alcoholic or a drunk man would say. Oh, really?
Yeah. Drink?
Just give me my 3rd fucking drink, bitch. So.
You need all the strong men to the back of the plane.
I mean, this guy's asking for one more drink. Somebody get the strong guys. And no more mayo. We don't have any more mayo here.
Yeah, what's up with these people? So fucking picky.
But so DJ, you said you're originally from Nashville, right?
I am. Like about 60 miles south of Nashville, but it's the only name of a town that you would know around me.
Oh, Manchester, right?
Yeah, Manchester.
Yes, and you have 5 siblings.
Yeah, I'm the oldest of 5.
You're the oldest,
right?
Cool. So how was when you travel for vacations for family and stuff? I mean, like with your parents and stuff like that. Is there anything that you remember that was fun or weird or scary or something happened?
I'm not doing this as a bit. There was not a single vacation as a child that turned out well. They were all disasters. Right. My dad, I mean, there wasn't a lot of money to go around, right? You have a lot of kids. My dad was a welder in a casket factory, so that doesn't pay a lot. And and we did, a trip for some, also just in my area in general, people, the idea of travel just really didn't exist in the same way it does if you're from other parts of the world. I mean, a big trip is to Florida, right? Mm-hmm. And we went on a lot of day trips. We had the Smokies there. There's Dollywood, and then everybody goes to Graceland at some point. It's 3 hours to Memphis. So you do that. You go to the zoo. You go to Graceland. So on the way to the zoo one year, it was me, my mother, my brother, and my sister. And my sister was I was 6. My sister was 4, and my brother was 2. Okay. So, and we went, for some reason, do you ever see that movie or hear about the movie Walking Tall? They remade it with The Rock. It's about the sheriff in a small town. Well, they made a movie about it in the 70s and the real life, or the 80s, and the real life guy, his mother, and he got killed, right? So his mother, he would go to her house and go into her house and talk to her about this. We didn't know her, but everybody called her Aunt Helen. Hey, come meet your Aunt Helen. She wasn't my aunt. Anyway, so on the way to see Helen, on the way to Graceland, I had to pee, and my father refuses. He's one of those dads. He's a Clark W. Griswold type of vacation guy. He's look at Grand Canyon.
Okay. All right.
Everything's in the mirror. Never wants to stop. Never wants to pay for a hotel. Any of that stuff. And so, we'll drive 37 hours to and from something, and y'all sleep in the car and fall asleep at the wheel. And so, so my father wouldn't stop, and so he gave me a Coke bottle. But back then, Coke bottles were long, the 10-ounce ones. You know how Mexicoke is, the long, thin ones.
Yeah.
And you probably won't remember this, you fucking kids, but you used to be able to go and you put 35 cents into a Coke machine that the door opened and you pulled one of these out.
Oh, yeah. I've seen those in museums. Yeah.
So he pulls his back and he gives his back to me to pee into, and it's that tall, and I'm just not much taller than that. And gives it to me to pee in, and kids don't.
The car's driving.
Yeah, but driving. So I'm standing in the middle, the the hump in the back seat and the floorboard.
Yeah.
With siblings around you.
My mother has my shirt steady me, and my back is turned. And so little kids don't understand about physics. Well, I put my penis down inside of down in there, and when the pressure built up, it popped out. I pissed all over my brother and my sister and myself. Nobody had any change of clothes. So my mother was mad. My dad was mad. We get to Helen Pusser's house.
It's your dad's fault, man.
Of course.
Yeah, that shouldn't be mad.
And so we get to this woman's house who we've never met. Maybe that movie about her son.
Smelling like piss.
And he took us out in the yard and hosed us. And we sat on the porch, dried off. It was July, and we were there and did adult things. And then we get to Memphis, and I'm a kid, and Elvis doesn't mean anything to me, and he'd probably been dead maybe 10 years. I don't know when Elvis died, but it started to rain. So at Elvis's gravesite, my mother's wearing those big 1980s mama vacation sunglasses, sobbing, and I was like, so that's my first early travel memory.
Wow.
Pissing on myself and my siblings, and my mother bawling her eyes out for a man that also didn't know.
From Elvis. I'm very dramatic, very good shot of the rain, the pour.
I never been on an airplane until I was 18 years old.
Oh, right. That? Okay.
I'd never been on an airplane until I was 18.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
How was that experience of being 18? It was
awesome because I was getting the hell out of the South. So, I love the South. I like being from there, but I knew I had to leave at an early age if I wanted to do this. And so I moved to England when I was to go to college.
So you did? Nice.
So my first flight was a flight to London.
Oh wow! Yeah. So that's like a big, that's a big flight. It wasn't like you were going to like Miami or something.
But I got there and like it was also July, and there was a tall, thin guy wearing a sweater, eating an ice cream cone, and a lit cigarette in his other hand. I'm like, I belong here. Like
this is me.
Yeah,
that's awesome. You lived in London?
Yeah, I lived.
Your time at King's College and stuff. Is there anything of the English culture that you've like never let go, that you've brought with you back to America? Is there any kind of?
You know what I think is interesting? It's so interesting when people's accent changes. Like I left with the worst Southern accent than I arrived with because nobody talks like you, so your ears like struggling to remember how to say things. Like you'll go get your hair cut, and some guy will be cutting your hair, and I was like, "That's the weirdest British accent I've ever heard." I mean, when you live in England for a long time, you know what regions like you can tell the difference. Like with an American accent, a Southerner or a Midwesterner, we can hear that. Our ears trained to it. So there's nothing there are things that I miss. Like it's most of the things that I find when I've lived somewhere else are like they're food based, nostalgic. I mean, and they're usually the easiest food that they offer. You know, like Walker's Smoky Bacon Crisps and Orange Kit Kats. And Southern Comfort I think about when I'm in England for some reason. And but there's sort of nothing Britishy that I brought back. You know, when I had lived there for like 3 years, and the guy that I was dating, his friend left an answering machine message that said this: "Come tomorrow and bring the American." I was like, "I've known you for 3 years." I'm still. They can't sort of let that go, right?
Bring them, yeah.
It's like,
I think that's a thing when you're
like that. Like I never think I'm like, come tomorrow and bring John, the British person. If I've known you for 3 years, I have tons of people in other countries who live here, my friends.
You know why though? Because if you insult an American before they arrive at your party, they'll be louder and more fun and more American about it. Whereas if you insult a British person before they arrive at your party, they'll probably be quiet and introspective and wonder why you insulted them.
Right.
Punishing themselves. So that's what maybe they just wanted to get under your skin. So they wanted to get you as American as possible.
I haven't had real feelings since I was in high school, though. Everything that I only emote for sale, so nothing can hurt me.
Right. That'd be great.
And also, like I'm self-aware. I know what merchandise I'm working with. There's nothing you can say to me that I haven't acknowledged. Yeah. I just realized that my bathroom mirror has been lying to me for this whole fucking time. I just realized that like 4 days ago, and I was like, "Well, this is it. I have gotten way older than I thought." Just like 4 days ago, I realized that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and now fighting off jet lag as well.
Dude, and it's not helping me.
When you like jet lag aside, when is your next big journey? When is your next big travel thing on the horizon?
I just did a job in Toronto.
Oh, okay.
So I have to go up there for a life casting, I think. You know, when they make the prosthetics, so they
cool.
Cast. Have you ever had one of those?
No, wait. So what is that? Like the live casting?
A live casting. So they put.
Oh, I thought you meant like actual cast. Like I thought you meant like a casting in live, like you're auditioning live.
No. It's a live with a cast, like a like a broken arm cast,
like a mold.
A mold.
Yeah.
But it's called a cast, and so it's literally the stuff that they used to wrap around like a cast for a broken bone. They do it over your head down to about here.
Oh, and it gets fucking hot in there, man.
And you lose contact with them. You can't hear them. You have goo in your ears, and in your eyes. And so I had one done when I was in Fargo. I had to get my head chopped off.
Okay.
And so I had one done in Calgary. It's the first time I ever had one, and no one told me that you should, because at some point you need to know how much longer you have to suffer, because you completely lose track of time. And you can't have like music in because
oh yeah. What about breathing?
You have straws up your nose.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I'm a little claustrophobic. I'd be like.
The way you do it though is you need to work out a system where you can ask how many 10-minute increments or 5-minute increments you have left, based on tapping or something like that.
Right.
I didn't know about. So anyway, I have to go up for that. But so I have.
And when you go though, dude, are they doing? Because in Canada you have to quarantine for 2 weeks. In most provinces, I'm not sure if they're giving you an exception. That's what I'm wondering. And you have to do it for 2 weeks, and you're not allowed to do it with friends.
Yeah.
You have to do it at a hotel.
And you have to do it in a cast too in 2 weeks for 2 weeks.
And in a cast, yeah.
I think be in a cast of dudes. But I think what they're doing is if you still have to quarantine, I'll just go to the quarantine hotel and they'll do it there.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
The quarantine hotel.
No, and the worst foreshadowing ever. They called it the quarantine hotel in the 80s.
Canada, I think they had the hotel. The quarantine is in a government regulated hotel. I think they have that when you go to. So they are like quarantine.
You can choose the one that you want to stay at.
But I hear that they're going to stop doing that relatively soon, and it doesn't shoot till October, I think.
Yeah, I think by in a month, everything's pretty much gonna be back to.
I mean, here's hoping because I also
well, they're very different in Canada because unlike America, they don't have a good vaccine rollout system, so they're actually going a bit backwards right now. So it's gotten worse lately in Canada, just like how Australia had the outbreak as well. So it's a weird thing, isn't it? Here in America, what's that?
Vancouver closed down twice. I mean, they recently closed down like a month ago.
Oh,
yeah. So we're having a bit of a. That's why Australia, like a lot of comics, have had to cancel all their stuff in Australia now, and so Australia's had a resurgence. In a way, I mean, we had it pretty bad here in America, but it's we've seen the worst of it. I would like to think, anyway. I would certainly hope so.
I hope.
While they've had a successful vaccine rollout, and in Canada, like no such. My parents, obviously baby boomers. My parents just got their second vaccines now.
Yeah.
So whereas American baby boomers, they were getting them last year, weren't they? Or whenever, like November.
Early, yeah.
I mean, man, I'm praying that things go back international. I mean, like if England's not open in September, that really screws me. I have a couple of appearances there, and entertainment's been closed this whole time. We haven't made any money.
Yeah.
And they're practical things you have to think about. If you can't pay your mortgage, they come and take your house away. You have to.
Yeah. Nah. I think everything will be back. I mean, I think I think so. I don't think we can go back to it. I think eventually, just because of the vaccines plus the whole people what's it called, when people the mutation, what is it called?
The variants.
Yeah.
No, not the variants, but we're already used to like the human nature. Herd community. Yeah, that's stuff.
Herd immunity.
So I think the combination of that with the vaccine, I think eventually, I don't think we're gonna go back.
I hope not. Here's the thing: I think that even if medical scientists to do it, there'll be such a pushback because people are exhausted.
That's what I mean. Yeah, I don't think people be like, fuck
that. I'm just saying, like how people with the mood of the country is. Just the mood of the world. I think that people, every time there's a new COVID article, people are less. They're not done the same way they were because they don't want to feed that. People don't want to think about it.
Yes.
Yeah. I understand it. I'm exhausted too. We all are exhausted. I actually ended up getting COVID and was so.
You had a what?
I went up getting COVID and I was so lucky.
Oh, you did.
I never got a fever. I never got a cough. I just lost my sense of taste and smell for 3 days. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known.
Oh wow!
So lucky.
That's good. Yeah, that's lucky. Yeah, that's
especially to escape without the cough because I had this breathless cough like before the.
But you had COVID?
I didn't get tested or anything like that. But in February of last year, we played Vegas in February of last year, just before the pandemic, and both of us came back with this breathless, like kind of whooping cough, like that kicked our ass. And we had that theory, like maybe that was COVID or whatever. But I haven't heard. Yeah. I haven't heard anybody escaping without getting that loss of breath thing. So yeah, you're quite lucky.
I was so relieved by it. But like I have friends who are pretty healthy who like went down.
Yeah, it depends on. I mean, it's literally like lucky because you don't know like how your body's gonna react.
That's what's so crazy about it, right?
Yeah.
And I understand why countries are being like this when you're traveling, like because it's what we don't know. We don't know so much that all you can do is take what little information you have and try to enforce that and make laws or rules based on that until we get through. We know more. Yeah. But I will say this: now is the perfect time to travel. When places are opening, it is dirt cheap to go anywhere.
Yeah,
And there's nobody.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, dude, my flight to Athens was $650 round trip.
What?
And there's nobody there. So I mean, like obviously people that live there, but like tourists went there in droves, and so like
that's great.
Nobody's getting gouged for prices for drinks or food. It was
because they want people to spend.
Yeah.
They don't want to. Yeah,
and they are stoked. People are stoked
right
coming back to their. I mean, it's
especially countries where their number. I mean, they live off tourism.
Yeah, they rely on tourism, and because usually when you go to those countries, just because it's been that way for generations, it's tourists. People get a little intolerant with it. I mean, you know how it is. Like people in Los Angeles, like you know, like doing touristy crap, and there's a little bit of you that does this. Come on.
Yeah.
And like they drive by on the TMZ tour or whatever. But you forget like this has been good for them people to remember that. Wow, things really crashed without this. Like this is actually good for us. Let's be tolerant.
Yeah, for sure. And I was gonna ask, when you travel and stuff like that, do you have any superstitions, or do you bring anything sentimental of value to you when you travel or stuff like that?
So,
and then JJ always likes to guess this question before you answer.
Okay.
I mean,
but if you have any or not.
He's been okay. Here's my guess. Right now, knowing DJ a bit, I have never seen. And I've partied with DJ a few times. I've never seen him do anything superstitious, and I think he's traveled a long time. So I'm going with the rare exception because most of our guests, I think, will have a superstition. But I'm going to think DJ is so comfortable with traveling, he's going to say no superstitions.
I don't have any superstitions. I travel. It just, you know what?
But what about sentimental value? Anything that you bring of sentimental value that you bring? It doesn't have to be superstitious, but like how you bring this, I bring, for example, like a baseball because it reminds me of my dad.
Oh, that's nice. No, I don't. I don't really bring anything. I mean, I have things that I have to take with me because I freeze like on airplanes. So like I always have an airline.
Okay.
I mean, things like that. And I did notice the coming back from Greece that I always sit on the right side of the plane. But I don't think that's a superstition.
Interesting.
Maybe it's because
I actually do that too. I always like that. I always pick whenever I get it, the right side.
Yeah, maybe it's because that's how I sleep, because I sleep on that side. So I don't know, but I'm always on that. But I do this though. I'm not a nervous flyer, but still turbulence will bother me. And I know that the science behind the plane is not going to follow the sky, and even if the engine's cut off, there's hundreds and hundreds of miles of coasting it still has on it. I know all of this stuff. I've actually been on a plane where both engines cut out.
What?
Like Chicago once.
Oh, what happened?
We emergency landed in Palm Springs.
And it landed fine?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What was the tone in the plane? What were people like for that? Like I imagine you're looking out the window at two dead engines. So
we were leaving. We were leaving LAX going to Chicago, and right when we're supposed to take off, the plane does this. It just comes back down, does this, and immediately goes down.
As soon as it takes off,
and it's flying, and it's going fast, right? And so they put the brakes on, and the reverse thrusters, all this shit. And so the guy's like, "Hey, one of our engines went out, and this plane can fly on one engine, totally fine." And we're like, okay. And so then they took us back there, and there was a delay, and they fixed the engine, and we got over Palm Springs, and the guy said, he's like, "Hey, folks, that engine's gone back out again." And then
thanks for telling us.
I'm not kidding, dude. And a couple months later, he was like, "So our other engine's come out, or is gone out, it's going in and out." He was like, "We need to land this plane." So we landed in Palm Springs. We circled a couple times and we landed. And the thing about it is that everybody was relaxed about it because the pilot was so relaxed.
Yeah.
Folks, like that. I was like, but the reality was when we landed, all along the side of the plane, there were emergency vehicles waiting all along the tarmac. Yeah. And I was like, oh, wow, I guess there's some serious stuff. But I needed to be in Chicago because I was doing, I was on a press junket, like a press tour. Mm-hmm. And so they got one of those engines, and you had two options: either get back on the plane, go to Chicago to get one of the engines working, or get on a bus back to LA to get another flight to Chicago. And I had to be there in the morning. So I made a friend during that experience, and I asked if the guy from Coach could sit in first class with me if I got on the plane and went. They said, yeah, sure. And then we didn't have any more problems.
Oh, wow.
Somebody told me this: if you take a round trip flight every day of your life from the time you are born to the time you died at like 80 or whatever, you have a better chance of being struck by lightning than dying on an airplane.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, no, that is for sure. Right. I think
you're not stressful enough to die on an airplane. It's not going to happen. Yeah, my psychic told me I was going to die when I'm in my 90s.
Wait, who told you that?
My psychic.
Oh, okay.
But she told me the last 10 years are not going to be fun for me.
Oh,
that's
okay. So that's okay. So what?
Your psychic.
Well, I mean, I would have been like, hey, can we split the difference? And I just died 10 years younger. I'm fine.
Or like, couldn't you have told me this when I'm 80? You didn't have to tell me now.
That's the thing I don't like about like the whole psychic stuff. Because I read the horoscopes here and there, but like, just kind of like, but I just don't like knowing too much because then I'm like I'm the guy who's always be thinking about that shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm always like, okay, so I don't like really not knowing because then if I know, then it messes
me up. Or maybe
you
could change it like in Back to the Future when they reappeared on the photograph. Like you can change these things.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I like knowing stuff. Here's the thing. I'm not confident enough to know that I don't think there's some merit in it. I think that denying things that you don't know based on the fact that you don't know, I'm not sure that there's wisdom in that either. But I would my life.
Here I was saying that you weren't superstitious at all, and now it turns out that you might be so superstitious that you have a psychic who allows you to not be superstitious.
Maybe. Is this a psychic that's been for like a while? Like
no, I've been here twice. But here's but the thing is, I think of superstitions as like things like ritualistic. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you have to do this, you have to bring things along with you and that kind of stuff, or like go through different rituals to travel. I don't have any of that.
I do think. Yeah, I mean, it's just, but so then you like knowing stuff, good or bad, at least, So, but how does that? My thing is like, my question is, how does that change your way of living? Like, would you do stuff different because
No, because it's also probably bullshit. But
yeah, okay.
If I'm in a stressful situation, and when I'm in a stressful situation, and like if something's chaotic, or if I was on a flight with a lot of turbulence, I'd be like, oh, my destiny down this airplane. I'm gonna die when I'm 91. In the last 10 years, I'm not gonna be good.
There you go.
Yeah, it works. It works to your advantage.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to spend all of my money based on, or you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
change everything
based on that.
Yeah, and also that's true. Yeah, I like that. But also, I think the whole turbulence, people get scared. Airplanes, anyways, is because of the control factor. Like most people die in cars. But you don't feel so dangerous because you're controlling it, because you're driving.
That's exactly why people are afraid to fly, because you have no control of the situation, and we are by nature control freaks.
Exactly. But you said it's more.
That people believe in crazy stuff because when you're not in control of like when you live or when you die, like so many things. There's so many factors in our lives we have no control of. So you have to
completely.
You have to make it external. You have to like, well, there's something else guiding this, when it's probably just a random series of tragedies.
Of course.
All right, and answer me this then, buddy. Like, okay, so if your last 10 years, you've been told that your last 10 years aren't going to be very much fun. If we're still going to be mates, do you want me to come and like?
I think by this time will be legal.
You want me to come into? No, not by then. By what are we talking? The year 2059 or something? It'll be I'll sneak in. I'll help you out. Just take out your misery.
I mean, probably she's wrong, and I'm going to die from saying the wrong thing to somebody. Like, I'll start off with the wrong person, and they'll take me out right there. That's probably likely.
Well, that'd be funny if you go like, wait, no, I'm not 90 yet. Come on. This is not happening.
No way, dude. It's not going to kill me. I'm going to die when I'm 91.
Man,
did you guys notice that our producer Brian has sent us a message as well saying, wouldn't you rather know? I feel like Brian is like, I want to know how I'm going to die.
I don't want to know how.
I don't want to know how either. I wouldn't want to know how.
No, but I kind of want to know when.
Right.
But only if it's a long time away.
Yeah, that's the thing. But if it goes like, hey, you got a week, you're like, fuck. Like
who the hell wants to know that?
No. I don't like. I mean, that's the reason I major in finance and international business, and I knew like it was very like my whole life was very like I knew it was gonna happen, and that's why I was like I didn't like it. So the reason I like doing stand up and acting all this stuff is because it's so like you don't know, and that's kind of the thing about it. I like Yeah, it's fun to know, but I like the whole.
But here's the messed up part about entertainment. Like that is the initial draw, like being on the road and all this new stuff. And then you get to a place in your life where you want to make a lot of money to control what happens around you.
Yes. I'm in that place right now.
So I'm in that place. I'm tired. I'm tired.
It's called Las Vegas. You're
in that typical place.
Yeah, you are. Francisco, you literally are the place where either your dreams will come true or.
Yeah, no, where I'm like, I want to make a lot of money. And I don't want to deal with all these people. That's what I.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I mean, I think everybody feels like that. Like most, I've obviously met a lot of comedians when I became friends with Jim. Like it's a world I didn't know about, and I find that is a commonality. As I'm meeting guys who've been on the road for like years and years and years, they're like, yeah, I just want to get off the road.
Yeah,
and like maybe get a sitcom or like something that's somewhere. And I get that because one thing that I'm going to try to hold on to is to not take travel for granted. But I know it's not going to last long.
Yeah. And it's also the type of travel too. It's like, because one thing though, I was never my first road gig I did, and I thought it was gonna be. I had heard the whole thing about like being on the road and the cool things, and I remember like running into Mark Maron in some like little airport in Buffalo because it was crazy snowing, and like I had to like drive in the snow, and it's like a shit. And I'm like, he's sitting there, and I go like, I was like. And I knew him from the Comedy Store because I worked there. And I was like, hey, I was like, Mark. And he's like, and then he looked at me. He just did this. He just was like, this is it, huh? And like, literally, I was like, he knew what I was thinking. Like, he could tell, like, this is the fucking, and this is before he started the whole podcast or before he got famous. So he was going through all that shit of like, so it is that. And I knew the beginning, I was like, no, I like traveling, but I'm not the guy who's like, I want to be on the road all the time and doing this. No. Like I like travel good, and and like knowing when to travel and stuff like that. I need a sidekick that tells me.
When you're a veteran comic, we just brag about the road so that we can suck other wannabe comics into it.
Misery loves company.
Suck other aspiring comics.
It's like when somebody has 19 children, they can't wait for you to have 19 children.
Yeah. Do it. It's amazing. You gotta do it.
Yeah, come on, you gotta have one. You like one. That's like when people give you food, like you're eating something. Come on, you gotta try it. I'm like, well, haven't you eating it, man? Like, exactly. Eat yours first. I'm not gonna trust that shit. I was gonna,
buddy. I'm dying to get to. There's one thing I wanted to get DJ talking about because he already mentioned he's lived in Vancouver and New Orleans, to film shows and stuff. And because I love the stories he comes back with. He always fully commits to the city that he's in. I know that other actors come and go or fly like in and out, and shoot their scenes. But you talk so affectionately and effusively about New Orleans.
I was
wondering if you could give us a couple minutes of your tips to tour New Orleans and like what to hit up, because I've now been to New Orleans I think 3 times. I always have a great time, and I always usually follow your tips. So DJ, hit us with some New Orleans stuff that I'd love to know about, because people should visit. It's so much fun there.
I mean, everybody's gonna do bourbon. I mean, it's something that you walk down. Like, and maybe have a drink there, but it's for me, I never did a night of it. I mean, living in New Orleans, you would walk down Bourbon at like 4:30 in the morning because it's the safest part of the quarters where the cops are, but you're stepping over puke and rats, like for real. So it's just not my favorite part.
Wait, are the rats dead, right? Or they're just walking around?
They're eating the garbage they put out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's got a smell. New Orleans. It's got a scent of a post-party trash
level. Everything's always moist and moldy. I mean, it's in the summertime, it's so humid that you can't sweat. I mean, that's a real thing.
Yeah,
it smells like a college party at a rundown house. Yeah.
But everybody should go down Frenchman. That's locals bourbon. It's where there's DBA there. There's a bunch of bars there, and you can find live music there. And even if like brass is not your jazz or brass bands aren't your thing, the spirit of it's so great. The other thing that's really good is that if you just go to the quarter or like to the warehouse district on a Saturday or Sunday, there's usually a second line going on. And a second line is a parade. And so on Saturdays, it's usually weddings. So you can join and they will pull you in to join. And you know, in New Orleans, as long as you order a drink in plastic, you can walk out with it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
People down like going with umbrellas and you're carrying a drink, and they will pull you in. And it's when I first saw it, like it reminded me of audience participation at a play. And you're like, no, I don't want to be involved with this. I don't know you. But it's so infectious. And then on Sundays, they have the same sort of jubilant thing for funerals.
Oh
wow.
Wait, and do they pull you into the funeral too?
Yeah. It's a second line honoring the marriage and a second line saying goodbye to the friend. Okay. And it's such a cool experience. You know, I think everybody should probably do Mardi Gras once. I'd done it so much that I never, ever want to do Mardi Gras again. My breaking point was my buddy Jacob called me and said that he was passing out and he couldn't get his pants up. So I don't know why his pants were down. I found him in front of a bar called Igor's, way the hell up St. Charles. His pants down.
That's
and had to pay, and I paid somebody $50 to help me drag him back to my place. Like literally doing this, like walking like through people like this, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore.
I'm slightly relieved that he needed help and that he wasn't just calling you to let you know.
Dude, I mean, but it also made me feel good. It was annoying that your friend needs that kind of help, but it also makes you feel good that because I really was made to feel like a local there. And when my first season, like when I came home from my hiatus, I went to my local spot and they sort of had going away drinks for me. And there is a ring with a fleur-de-lis on it, a silver ring that like almost all of my male friends had, and they bought me one and gave it to me as a sort of, you're one of us. And even now when I talk to people back home, they're like, when are you coming back?
That's cool.
I mean, so I think that like you have to go through the quarter. But off Bourbon, there's so many great, like, you turn a corner and just walk around, but do it in a well-lit area because New Orleans is dangerous. Like they'll be the first people to tell you that people get robbed. Also, don't wear Mardi Gras beads or convention badges when it's not Mardi Gras or at night. Don't do that. This man wearing a Blockbuster uniform, you know, like the blue shirt, the khaki pants from Ohio, was wearing Mardi Gras beads over his convention badge. And I'm like, hey, dude, come here. And he came into my local spot, and I'm like, you're going to get rolled. And I was like, nobody wears Mardi Gras beads unless you're a tourist. So you're marking yourself to get robbed.
Wow.
And he was already like, he was there, he's drunk. And he's like, fuck off, man. Fuck off. Let me live my life. And I'm like, all right. So I'm outside smoking with some friends, and we see this hooker roll out, like run out, grab a car, come back, then honk the horn. This guy comes out with another hooker. She puts him in the back. About 2 hours later, no word of a lie, he comes staggering up the street and he's like, I've been robbed. I told you.
Of course. Well, I thought the Netflix people were gonna rob him.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say, also, since you've been to Rome, do you have any tips for me for Rome?
Yeah. There's everybody, you know, you have to go to like Piazza Navona, which is like the big piazza where you like have and the thing is, it's not like, you know, a National Lampoon's Vacation where they're like it's all the same food, but like, you know what I mean? Like it's, even though it's a touristy area, the food is thoughtful. And it's going to be expensive no matter what you eat. You don't have to look at a menu. There's 50 restaurants that line it up. Sit at one of them. All the food is just so amazing there, right? Yeah. But there's also a place called Campo dei Fiori, which is like 2 blocks from there. It's where locals go out at night.
Oh,
and it's a market. And in a lot of places, outdoor seating, you just sit around and, you know, like people like smoke and talk and drink, and it's like all local people. But the bars there at night, I love them, and I always go there, and whenever I'm in Rome. But no, you have to do the you know, the Spanish Steps, which takes 2 minutes. It's free.
Yeah.
You know, you have to do the Pantheon. You have to do that. Here's one advice. So if you go to see the Sistine Chapel in the Vatican, you have to book a tour before. You know why? Because you have to wait 3 hours if you don't book a tour.
All right.
I'm telling you, for 20 extra euros, you will avoid a 3.5 hour time. The tour takes you right to the front. You go into the Sistine Chapel, you see it, you're there for 20 minutes, and
you see it there.
Massive. I mean, just walking back because they take you in the back door. So the way out is through the big museum part. You know, the Vatican is like the British Museum. It's like it's a warehouse of stolen goods. So like they've just taken the most beautiful things from history and put it there. And now lucky for the world because they're all in one place. But it takes probably an hour to walk out of there. Through
Well,
so but you have anything in Italy, it's probably going to have some sort of that people want to do is going to have some sort of a line attached to it. If you go to like Expedia or one of those websites and book the tour, you don't have to stay with the tour. I mean, and a lot of times it's not even really a tour. They're just like, hey, you want to get in faster?
It's just okay, cool.
Hey, Francisco, are you writing all this down?
Yeah, I'm writing it right now.
I just thought I'd let you know we're recording it as well. Just
and also, I mean, he doesn't want to watch this back. But also, you can also text me before you go.
So what?
Text me before you go.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll do it. Yeah, because it's like I definitely because it's by the end of August, so like I definitely need like the reminder of like
when you go.
I'm leaving the 25th of August or 26th of August, which is until like September, until like Labor Day, like coming back Labor Day.
Okay, so my other piece of advice about going to Italy is to go in September, because the prices are night and day, dude. Like you'll pay 15 euros for a salad, a lunch salad, like a regular salad, which is $22, $23. It's €8 a month later. And the weather's still great. I mean, I was there probably September 15th or like maybe the 30th or something, and the weather held. It was gorgeous. It wasn't too hot. We had a couple of days, but night and day hotel cost.
Really?
We comparison shopped, and it's just Italy sort of starts to close down in September.
Okay.
So you get all the beautiful stuff. Like when we went to Capri, there were people there, but usually a room there in high season costs $300 to $500 a night. We're paying $100. Which is insane.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, I have to go like what time the wedding is. So it's kind of like, but next time, I mean, like you said, I mean, it's not. I'm definitely gonna come back.
Most of Europe anyway. Like September, the weather's still holding, but people started to not be there
or to go back to work because of their vacations over, stuff like that. So
I think it'll be a pretty good time. I think it'll just starting to free up enough for you, man. It'll be because you're gonna miss that peak tourist time. You're definitely gonna miss. So
the only time you shouldn't do that is when you're going to an island like Ibiza or somewhere like that to party.
I know you gotta go.
You go there in off season. There's like 19 people there.
Yeah, no, you don't want to. Yeah, no, you gotta go where the parties is. Yeah.
Hey, buddy, I just you've been fucking awesome, DJ. We're looking at Francisco and I have been working on getting a home base for our podcast soon. We're hoping to make a big announcement to our people soon. I know we've told you guys that 2 weeks in a row now, but it's in the works, and so we'll be announcing that soon. DJ, like you got so many travel stories, bro. I hope you'll consider coming back and hanging out with us when we. That would be awesome, man. Oh,
yeah, thanks for joining us, man.
We've had a ton of fun talking to you, man. I got an additional question before we go to our wrap question, because I really like your fleur-de-lis ring story of having that commonality. Has that happened with a lot of cast and crew when you've left like sets and stuff? Do you guys do that? Because you hear stories of people got tattoos together or anything like that.
It's so shocking, dude. Like people, I mean, they only hang out with each other when they move somewhere, and it's like, I don't want to see you and talk about work every day. Like I am friends with my cast, and we do local stuff, and we're living like somewhere together, and it's great to have them there, obviously, because we're going through the same thing. But you need to make friends who already know how to live there.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And also, just so you're not in a conversation loop about
the same stuff that you're dealing with. Yeah.
Right. The beauty of travel is that if you are patient and you invest in what you're doing and you're present in it, is that you leave a new hometown behind. Landing somewhere and knowing where to get a gooder service or where a good time is to be had, or meeting up with somebody that lives there that you met from that past experience. There's nothing better than that.
Right.
Every time you book a flight, every time you travel anywhere, the world becomes more relatable and more manageable.
That's completely true. You start understanding other people's, just people in general,
and how much they have in common ultimately.
Yes. I think that's why traveling should be done, especially so young, for early, the youngest you can, because it just teaches you so much about, human nature, and you go like, oh, okay, things we're pretty much similar, because we, when you don't travel, you think everything's like alien stuff, and it's
out of
like,
high school, you don't know. Things are so much bigger when you don't know about them.
Yes.
I encourage everybody, either at a high school or at a college, to go and do this, because also there's a beautiful thing about being that age and traveling, is because you're willing to be inconvenienced in a way that you're not.
Yes. When you get older,
right? Your back doesn't get as messed up for a crash.
Yes. You can sleep in some train for 5 hours and then walk. Yeah. And also, I think it's also what I like too. Like, it's just also like when you travel young too. It's like it makes you like live things that you never realized that you could do. Like, it makes you in that survival mode. Especially if you like confidence. Yes, you're like, oh, I could actually, especially if you didn't live with your parents and you kind of have like easy life or whatever, and then you throw yourself into the fire, and it's like, oh, shit happens and you have to deal with it, but you go like, oh, I dealt with it, So
and those friendships, I'm telling you, at least my experience, have been lifelong from traveling.
Yes, right, that's true. Yeah, you meet somebody and then it stays forever.
Never meet before.
Yeah, I mean that is the perfect segue to the final question that we always ask them. I hope we didn't automatically go into that direction because I asked you about the rings or whatever. But we always conclude our podcast by asking what your favorite piece of travel advice. Now, DJ, I gotta say, of all our guests, I feel like you've given us the most travel advice already. Like, you've knocked it out of the park. You've probably given us 5 awesome pieces of advice already.
Yeah.
Okay.
But our final question always is, do you have a favorite piece of travel advice that you love to hand on to people? Just generic, it doesn't have to be location specific.
Yeah.
Just this thing.
I mean, honestly, it just really comes back to what I said earlier. What really changed traveling for me is getting to this mindset of, yes, it's expensive to get somewhere. But once I'm there, I really try to make my trip last as long as possible. So, like, I don't want to go to Europe for 4 days to 5 days, right? It's so stressful and expensive. And once you get somewhere, it's cheaper to stay than it is, to go back there. So going with the philosophy of like doing one thing or like maybe 2 things maximum in a day. And then I like to see things in the daytime, like see something cultural, see something that's unique to that location, and then get wrecked with local people at night, and then do it all over again until I leave. So for me, like a 10 to 12 day trip is good for doing that. And what I've realized is that even if the hotel is expensive on the front end, just go ahead and book the extra days and don't pay for the hotel. Go there and you will find a place that's so much cheaper. It's every single time I've traveled. Like, I will find somewhere, and if I don't have a hotel for the entire time, but I don't have the balls to, like, one of the things I have to know where I'm staying on the first couple of nights. I have to. From the airport. There's nothing worse than landing someplace and having the flight behind you and you smell like garbage and you don't have a place to go to. But just acknowledging like the leisure, the luxury of being leisure on a trip, I think is a big deal, and we forget it. It really is that sort of like doing 15 things in a day. In a day, you won't remember any of that. You'll come back and all of your photos will be of buildings and water.
Right. Yeah.
Your trips. I mean, man. But I mean, as far as practical stuff, it's. I think that, like, the wisdom was always, it gets more expensive the closer you get to the date. But I've been finding that not to be true recently. I mean, like, not even before the pandemic.
Yeah.
In Europe, it's actually cheaper closer to the date because we're trying to let flights go.
Got it.
I've always found that to be true.
I mean, that never worked out for me in Europe.
Really?
Hugely, hugely expensive when it's close to the date. But I don't know. The
travel agent, they still have them all over the place. That's why they exist, because they know that kind of stuff.
Oh, travel. I don't know. So travel agents still exist?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah. You're like, I want to go to Barcelona tomorrow, and like you can go for like 40 pounds, but it's $300 on the internet.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because they know. Well, that's like the travel agents know all the tricks and stuff.
Yeah, I've always found that to be true.
Oh yeah, I'll gladly take a last minute deal for any random place. I guess it's when I have to get to like if I had a show, say in Holland or whatever, if I had to play in Amsterdam, if I wait to the last minute to get that ticket, then I'll be like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Should have done that.
But, If you, I mean, that's that, but I'm only talking about when you have dates to play with. Like if you have to be,
Then
you can get awesome deals. Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
But thanks for all those tips, man. Those are like really great advice. And I think just piggybacking when you said about just enjoying your travels. I think it's like not trying to control everything and knowing that stuff is gonna get like. Stuff is not gonna plan how you planned it. You know what I mean? Like you wanted to do this, and it's like, well, fuck it. It didn't work out.
So
Let's go.
People white knuckle their trips and schedule their trips.
Yeah.
You're missing out on the
real and the beauty
you don't know about. You don't know what you want to see.
And those are the stories that you remember. Hey, you remember when we were there and we were supposed to do this, and then we ended up in this. Those are the cool because it wasn't planned.
I'm on this podcast. I'll tell you about how I got robbed by these two little girls in Spain. And
man.
I got robbed. They were like 8 and 12. They robbed me. And
they're 8 and 12.
But it's such a good story. And it's one of my favorite memories of Spain.
Oh, we gotta hear that.
All right, man. Well, we'll be having you back for sure. I can't wait, man. And I can't wait to buy you a beer. Like now you're in town. You get over this jet lag. Let's go have a couple drinks or something, man.
Right on, brother.
We thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for giving us the time and get some rest so you can get out of the jet lag for 2 weeks.
All right, dude. We'll travel safe, fellas.
DJ QUALLS. DJ QUALLS, thank you very much, buddy.
All right.
Cheers, bro.
Hello.